Welcome everyone. We're excited to start today's webinar, Sharing Your Alumni Success. Today's webinar was created and is presented by the Stevens Initiative, a program that funded your virtual exchange experience. You might have heard about the Stevens Initiative before, but might not know exactly what it is. The Stevens Initiative is an international effort to build global competence and skills for young people in the United States and in the Middle East and North Africa by growing and enhancing the field of virtual exchange. The Stevens Initiative is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State and is administered by the Aspen Institute. It supports many different virtual exchange programs, including yours. Today, we will talk about ways to share your success. We will finish with a Q&A and ask that you submit your questions via the Q&A box on the bottom of the screen. We are excited to be able to talk about different tips and resources today and hope that by the end of the webinar, you feel better prepared to share your success. Today, you'll hear from two members of the Stevens Initiative. My name is Haley Lewis, and I manage communications and events for the Stevens Initiative.
And my name is Kyle Kassler. I am a program associate with the Stevens Initiative working on alumni engagement. Today, we're going to focus on alumni success. We know that students who participate in virtual exchanges develop skills and knowledge that help them to go on to achieve many types of success in school, in their professional lives, and in their communities. We are going to define alumni success, discuss why it is important for you to share yours, and explain different ways that you can share your success along with specific tips for writing, connecting, and sharing photos. As we go, feel free to send us questions using the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen. We'll leave time to answer these questions at the end of our presentation.
Everyone attending today's webinar has participated in a virtual exchange. Virtual exchange uses technology to connect young people for facilitated online learning. We have many different types of programs that cover different topics and work with young people of many ages. For example, Global Nomads Group, or GNG, connects middle and high school aged students around storytelling, while the William Davidson Institute's M² Gate program connected college-aged youth to learn about and develop social entrepreneurship projects. The thing that connects all programs is that you, program alumni, walk away with the skills and connections that prepare you for whatever you do next in life.
Now, for today's featured content, we are going to explore how to share your current success as a virtual exchange alumni and why you should. You might think right now, I haven't achieved any success yet, but that might be because you don't understand how much you've learned or what you have achieved. So we should start with thinking about what changed during my exchange program. Or you can ask yourself the question, what did I learn or gain from my program? The answer to that question might be hard skills. You might have gained hard skills. These are skills that are easy to measure, things like ability in a foreign language, accounting skills, or knowing how to use an application or a platform. These skills, hard skills, are developed in many of our virtual exchange programs. If you ask yourself the question, what did I learn or gain from my program? You might also identify some soft skills. Soft skills are less easy to measure, but are also very important. These include skills like teamwork, communication skills, problem solving, or cross-cultural understanding. An additional thing that happens all the time in virtual exchange is a change or shift in attitude or beliefs. As you learn more about other people, your opinions about them change or develop, and then you employ those attitudes or beliefs in your everyday life. So whatever you learned or gained during your program, the first step towards sharing your success is identifying what you learned or gained. After you identify the impact or the success, what you gained during your program, you should think about how we have used the things you've learned. So how have you put those skills or changes into practice? Because that is success. We know that success can mean many things for different people. Like Haley mentioned earlier, students have many different program experiences, and these experiences lead to different opportunities or ways to use what you learned during your exchange. Some common successes include using what you learned, the skills or knowledge that you gained as a part of your program, in another area or opportunity. What does that look like, you might ask? For example, if you gain specific project management skills or maybe teamwork skills during your virtual exchange, and then you take those skills and use them in another project or program, that is a success. Or a different example, if you learn something about your international partner and then share what you learned with others, that might be formally or informally, that is a success also. Another way of thinking about success is by thinking about using what you learned during your virtual exchange program to continue to learn. So if you continue to build on what you learned during your exchange by participating in another learning program or another learning activity, that is also success. So what does that look like? If you learned about a different culture or how to participate in a dialogue, and then you go on to participate in a conference or a workshop that continue to develop these skills, that is a success. You're building on a foundation that you started in your exchange. You're continuing your learning. Two other ways of achieving success are achieving a specific goal you have, or by helping out by giving back to your community. If you wanted to win an award, start a project, or be accepted into an educational program, and your virtual exchange skills helped you achieve those goals, that is a success. Or if you use your skills to meet a need in your community, that definitely counts too. You can get started sharing your alumni success now. You can tweet at us about a success that you believe that you have had as a result of your exchange program right now. Tweet at Stevens, INIT, and use the hashtag WorldClassConnection to connect with us online. Let's do a quick activity that helps you identify your alumni success using the steps we outlined previously. So let's look at this slide. In this slide, we have 3 different columns that represent how you can think about your skills and your goals before your exchange, during your exchange, and then what you're doing after your exchange program. You can ask yourself the questions in the second row and write down your answers. So what would this look like? In the third row, I gave an example based on an alumni success story that we have shared from an alumni participant from the Dial-Up program from World Learning. So before the exchange, this alum could have said, I want to learn more about other people, I want to gain leadership skills, and learn how to help my community. But right now, I don't contribute to projects because I don't know how. And so then, if he would ask himself the questions, during my exchange, what did I learn? What hard skills did I gain? What soft skills? Or did my attitudes or beliefs change? He could answer those questions with, I gained leadership and project management skills, and I learned more about young people in Iraq during his exchange. And then continuing on to the last column, so after the exchange program, after the virtual exchange, if you would ask, how am I using my new skills? Or what opportunities do I have? What projects am I working on? He could answer, I'm using my leadership and project management skills to start a club in my high school that shares information about other people with my classmates. So this just shows a really easy step-by-step way that you can identify your success by identifying what you gained during your virtual exchange program and what you're doing now. Now that you know how to identify your success, you might be asking yourself, but why should I share? Or why should I make an effort to reach out or to write a story? Well, these are important actions for many reasons. I'm going to go through a couple right now. It is important to share your alumni success for yourself. Sharing your alumni success helps you reflect on your learning, and then you can use that reflection to talk to others about your experience. You can talk to your teachers, your future employers, or your friends about your virtual exchange program. Also, sharing your alumni success increases your profile and your online presence. The Stevens Initiative, the Aspen Institute, and even your programs promote these stories that you share. So you can use this media that are shared by those people in other areas of your life to show your success to others. Sharing your success is also really important for your virtual exchange program. When alumni share their success, it shows the impact of the program and puts a human face on the actions that those implementers are taking. And this helps these programs continue and even to grow. It shows the impact of virtual exchange. You know very well that virtual exchange is a new type of learning, and the more people that know about it, the more interest there is, and the more opportunity there is for others to get involved. It's important to share your success also for your community and for other young people. Your stories inspire other young people to look for opportunities and to get involved in learning about other places and other people. And you sharing your success helps us and your virtual exchange program make virtual exchange available to more young people. So by showing the impact of your program, we can convince people to provide more opportunities to get involved in virtual exchange. So in essence, it helps us tell the story of virtual exchange, how powerful it is, and why it's important.
There are multiple ways to share your success with the Stevens Initiative. You can work with us to write an alumni success story, you can post to social media, or you can make connections with your program or international partners. All are great ways to share the impact that your virtual exchange program had on you. We will talk more about all of this later. For now, to share about your exchange on social media, you can use the hashtag #WorldClassConnection and tag us. Our Twitter and Facebook handles are on the screen. We love sharing the success of the alumni from Stevens Initiative-sponsored virtual exchanges. To give some examples, I want to briefly mention a few that we have shared in recent months. We published 3 success stories on our website and highlighted them on social media platforms. These stories include Turner Payne, who is a high school student from Maryland. During the DILEP program, he changed his perspective and learned about the importance of creating global connections. After his program, he started a virtual exchange club at his school that connected his local classmates with other young people across the world. Another story was Hannah Chabir. During her Solia program, Hannah developed valuable facilitation and group leading skills that she now uses in her career as an educator. Last but not least, Abanu Brodolf from Egypt used many of his skills that he gained during the M² Gate program, which I mentioned earlier, to be accepted into and then win a prize at an international science competition held in Indonesia. Success isn't only shared in stories. Elizabeth Burns from Nebraska, here in the US, shared a tweet that highlighted the impact of her program, part of the Global Virtual Project. Elizabeth reports that she gained a new perspective during her virtual exchange course and gained valuable skills like increased confidence and communication skills. This is definitely a success.
Like Haley mentioned, the first way for you to share your alumni success with us is to work with us to write an alumni success story. But what is that process? So first, you should walk through the exercise that I went through earlier to help identify what you gained during your program and what your current success is. Once you've done that, you should email us at stevensalumni@aspeninstitute.org, written here on the screen. And in that email, tell us about you, your program, and the success that you identified using the exercise. Once you message us, we will follow up with you, asking some specific questions that will help us write an alumni success story. Once we write an alumni success story as a draft, we will share that with you, asking for your feedback to make sure we capture your experience and your success. We will also ask for some pictures to help us put your face along with this story. Not sure what pictures to share? Well, Haley's going to give some tips soon on what pictures to share and also what kind of quotations or words that you might want to use.
Before I begin, I want to remind you all to start sharing your questions via the Q&A box. Now, some tips on writing a good story starts with the types of answers you give to the questions we ask you. These become quotes in your story. Sometimes we even share the quotes on their own to try to get people interested in reading your story. Some quotes are better than others. For example, I learned many new things is very vague. If someone saw this quote, they would not know what things you learned, nor would they be interested in trying to find out. By saying, through virtual exchange, I learned more about how to communicate effectively, work with a team, and develop a business plan. This will not only help me in my last semester of school, but when I apply for jobs, you are offering a specific example that lets a reader know all of the details about what you are trying to say. It also highlights the impact of what you learned, which is always a helpful detail to include. I'll share another example. Saying, I had the best time doing this provides incomplete information. It doesn't share what the this is that you are referring to. It also doesn't explain why you enjoyed the experience. It just said that you enjoyed it. This quote does a better job at telling the full story. Participating in IREX's program was a valuable opportunity that will always impact me and how I see the world and interact with others. We like to include photos with every story that we post online. It helps to complete the story by adding something visual to better explain the story. When we ask you for photos, there are some important things to know. If you look on the left of the screen, I can share more. Use the rule of thirds when trying to take a good photo. The rule of thirds means that you shouldn't have your primary subject or the person or thing that you're trying to take a photo of set in the middle. If possible, they should be a little to the left or right, about 1/3 of the way from the edge. This is a good rule of thumb to create a better balanced photo. If you're photographing a person, try to take their photo in one of the following ways: from the waist up, from the shoulders up, or of the entire subject. If you are able to, always try to have any strong light facing the subject or the person that you're taking the photo of to brighten their face. You don't want a ton of light coming from behind the person or thing that you are taking a photo of. Finally, when taking photos, always take one horizontally and one vertically. It gives us more options for how we can use the photo. Now, turn your attention to the right side of the screen. When trying to take a photo of a certain event or moment, you should use the DOG method to get a variety of shots. DOG stands for detail, overall, and grabs attention. Detail is a photograph with a specific detail that is important to the story or moment you are trying to capture. For example, in a photo about virtual exchange, you will definitely want to include the main detail, which is the virtual exchange itself. So, a photo could include a computer screen where a video conference is taking place. Overall is a photograph with the full picture, or a photo that provides an overview of the story or moment that you are capturing. For example, the photo capturing the virtual exchange itself is great, but to tell the whole story, you should also capture a photo that not only includes the detail of the virtual exchange, but also the participants. This gives an overall idea of what is happening. Finally, you should capture a photo that grabs attention. This should be a photograph of something that is intriguing to the audience so that they want to know more about the story or moment that you are trying to capture. We know that all of you are already done with your exchanges, so the opportunity to take photos with this guidance is over. However, we hope that this is a helpful skill for you to know for the future. As you review the photos of your exchange or ask your program for photos, try to find some that meets this guidance. That way, when you provide us photos for your alumni success story, we have the best photos possible. All of the photos you see on the screen follow the guidance that I shared. You'll notice that the rule of thirds is used, and the photos capture the people from the waist up. All of them also include detail, whether there is virtual exchange or some other activity taking place, you can see it. However, you also get a better idea of what is happening overall, because the photo always includes the people participating in the exchange or the activity. The photo on the bottom left even shows some of the classroom. Finally, all of these photos grab attention. They make you want to know what is happening in the photo. Taking an intriguing photo to go along with an alumni success story will push people to want to learn more, and so they are more likely to read your story. First, this is one last reminder to submit your question in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We always want to hear from you on social media. Earlier this year, we even launched a campaign to share more with the world about virtual exchange and its impact. For example, on the left side of the screen, you can see an example of the post from our newly launched digital campaign. However, we really need your help to do this, to share the story about virtual exchange and its impact, since you are the ones that participated in an exchange. You can post on social media using #WorldClassConnection, or you can share our posts, like the one that you see on the left. We also always share every alumni success story on social media. You can see an example from Facebook on the right. You are always welcome to share these stories on your own profiles. Please try to remember to tag us and use #WorldClassConnection. Once a story or social media post about your success has been shared online, it is time for you to help spread the word. You should tell your family and friends, your fellow participants, your school, and even your program and international partners so that they can share it too.
So like Haley started saying, you shouldn't only share your success with us, the Stevens Initiative. It is important to keep your program in the loop, sharing updates with them. Your programs like the Dialect program or the WDI M² Gate program, the Solia Connect program, the Global Nomads Group program, all of the different virtual exchange programs that the Stevens Initiative sponsors that you went through. It is important to keep your program in the loop and update them. They definitely want to hear from you. So what you might be asking yourself, what should I update them on? What should I tell them? Well, these updates can be informal. You can message them just sharing what you've been up to lately and some of your accomplishments, or even that you went through that exercise earlier that I talked about how to identify skills and what you're doing with them now, and you can share that with your program. You might ask yourself, how should I talk to them? Well, you can use the email address or the communication method that you used when you were on your program. So if that was an email address to a teacher or to someone who works at an organization, or if that was using another communication method like Canvas or a Facebook group or a WhatsApp message, any of the methods that you use during your program should still work. If that doesn't work, or if you're looking for something else, you can also try tweeting at your program using that program or institution's handle, or posting or tagging your program or institution on Facebook. This can include messaging and sharing with your international partners. So if you met with someone or connected with someone across the world during your virtual exchange program, you can connect with them and share and give them updates. One example is that I wanted to share is Azan Abidi from the NDI Tech Solutions program. He keeps his program organizers regularly updated. He tells them what he's up to and what his successes are, and then they share that with us at the Stevens Initiative. So, for example, they share his updates with us here. That included when he shared his recent TEDx talk or a video blog that he was featured in. And then we can take that information and share an alumni success story or use that information for other opportunities. For example, with Azan, we nominated him for an International Alumni Prize. And this all came about because he kept his program updated. So this wraps up the main part of our webinar. What did we learn today? We covered what is success for a virtual exchange alumni and how you can identify it using an exercise. We also talked about why it's important to share. It's important to share for you, for your program, for your community, and for other young people all over the world. We also went through step-by-step about how you can share your success through stories with tips about quotations and pictures, sharing through social media, or informal connections with your programs. The form that you see on the left side of the screen was shared with you before this webinar in a link, and it describes how to create a good alumni success story. It also includes the email address that you can use to reach out to us to share your story idea. We look forward to seeing some of these submissions and connections.
Great. So our first question is, do I have to create an alumni success story alone, or can I collaborate with others? Oh,
this is a really good question. So you can definitely work with someone else to create an alumni success story. So maybe you had a friend who did your virtual exchange program with you, and you both gained maybe similar skills, hard skills or soft skills, or different shifts in attitude or changes in your beliefs that you are using in your community now as a success. So if you want to write an alumni success story together, sure, that's perfect, go ahead. You can also write an alumni success story by yourself, and that is just as good.
Great. The next question is, can writing a success story help me talk more about my experiences when I entered the workforce?
Yeah, this is a really great question also. So the exercise, or going through the thoughts of writing down, of identifying your success and talking about your success, prepares you really well for then when you want to go into the workforce or the next stage in your professional career. Because in an interview or an application or a letter of interest, you'll need to share a little bit about yourself. Talking about your success and using this as an example is a great way to do that. Also, if you have the opportunity and you submit an alumni success story that we can share, you can always link to that alumni success story as an enhancement to an application or a letter that you're writing.
Great. So the next question asks, I heard how to take photos. How should I choose the photos that I have? That's a great question. So I talked a lot earlier, like you mentioned, about how to take a good photo. And we understand that many of you listening to or watching this have already finished your virtual exchange. So your program should have multiple photos of your virtual exchange. You may also have some photos from your exchange as well. And so I hope that the guidance that I provided you about what a good photo looks like can help you to choose your photos that you want to submit to us for an alumni success story. Someone asked, besides writing a story, will there be any other opportunities to share our success? And that's something that we talk about a lot and something that we're working on for the future. We actually just launched our alumni success stories this year, and the first one was published on our website a few months ago. And so right now we're really focusing on working with different alumni to help them write their stories and get them published to our website. But that doesn't mean that in the future we aren't exploring other ways to do this, including videos or podcasts or things like that.
Yeah, and additionally, even though right now we're focused on alumni success stories, you can already start capturing the media that you would need to share in the future with us. So if you're doing something in your community and you want to share it with us, take a video or take some pictures that you might want to share later. So just because we're not really focused on video or other things like that right now, doesn't mean you can't go ahead and capture that in your community. And also don't forget, even in this webinar, we didn't say that writing a success story was the only way to share your success. You can also share your success with us over social media through tagging and those tips that we gave, or like sharing your success informally with your program or with your peers.
Great. And someone followed up to that question asking if we have any tips on taking a good video. And I think that that's something that we will think about in the future and think about different guidance that we can share to support you as you capture videos about your exchange and what happens after.
Yeah. Someone else asked, what is the process to share an alumni success story? So I shared that earlier, and I just want to go through the process one more time. So back here, again, we're going to share the image, the document that you see on the left side of the screen that talks about how to share your alumni success story, so tips for writing one, and then how to share it with us. So basically, what you'll do to write an alumni success story, the first step is to walk through the exercise that helps you identify your success, and then you'll take that success that you identify and email us at stevensalumni@aspeninstitute.org and tell us about you, what your experience was in your program, and what your success is now that you've identified. And then the next step is we'll follow up with you asking more specific questions that will help us write a first draft of a story. We'll share that with you, ask for your feedback, make sure that's what you want to say, ask you for some pictures to share with us, and then we'll keep the process moving.
Mm-hmm. And when we do that, and once the alumni success story is finalized, that is the point when we share it on our website. That's when we use the photos that you've submitted and the stories that you've finalized, and we post them. This is also when your quotes become really important, because we pull those quotes to stand alone in the story, but also on graphics that we then share on social media when we promote your story to others. So our last question of the day is, what is the incentive to share our story?
Yeah, that's a good question. So another word for incentive is like reason, right? What is the reason that you have to share your story? And when we talked earlier, we spoke about lots of different reasons that you would want to share your story. So we talked about why it's good for your community and for other young people because it gets the word out there about virtual exchange. It's also the reason you would want to write this story or share your success is also for your program. You want to highlight your program, tell other people about it, share the impact of that program so it can continue and maybe even grow. And then what's the reason for you, or what's the incentive for you? Remember, sharing your alumni success creates a digital presence for you that you can use later in your career. Working with us to write an alumni success story that we can publish and put online is good for you because you can use that story and that media and publicity later when you're trying to achieve your next opportunity.
Great. So thank you all for submitting really great questions. That is all the time that we have for this webinar. We want to thank you so much for attending. When we end the webinar, you will be directed to a survey. We will also send out an email very soon with the survey link. This quick survey, which should take less than 3 minutes, will really help us with feedback about today's webinar. Please fill it out. It helps us to create programming that you want, such as topics for future webinars. We also plan to post a video of this webinar soon, and we'll share that link so you can watch again to practice anything that you missed, and so that you can share it with your fellow participants from your exchange that couldn't join today. Thank you again so much for attending.
Thank you. We'll end the webinar now.